Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Flipping the Bird podcast. I know we haven't done an episode in a while. With the past semester and finals and everything, it just gets hard to stay consistent. However, this summer, we're going to upload a podcast at least once a week, during the NBA playoffs. And once it's over, talk about some NFL news and college football, much like on today's episode. Of course, I'm your host, Luke Lawhorn, the sports editor at the Paisano. Today, joining me is Logan Martinez, a consistent sports contributor at the Paisano. Logan, what's going on, man?
Going on, man? Good to be happy to be here. Happy to be in this podcast with you.
Yeah, what you been doing the last couple of weeks on the summer break?
Just watching a lot of sports, honestly, watching the playoffs, really invested in the playoffs and the MLB regular season, and just honestly just kind of taking a vacation a little bit.
Yeah, I got you. The NBA playoffs has definitely been helping me. And right now, obviously, we're halfway through the NBA postseason. We've completed the first two rounds, having two more to go since we're in the Eastern and Western Conference finals. So far, what's your takeaway through the first two rounds?
Honestly, well, obviously it's a bubble rematch, and I feel like a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, the bubble wasn't fake," but I feel like these are completely differently built rosters aside from like the star players. And I
Right.
feel like it's really a testament to the greatness of these players, such as Nikola Jokic, Jimmy Butler, LeBron James, and honestly Jason Tatum too.
Yeah, especially if you look at the Lakers roster, I saw some site posted that the only two remaining players on the Lakers is LeBron and AD. And obviously, LeBron has only gotten older now at 38 years old or whatever. All their different pieces are gone. Obviously, they have Austin Reeves now and Jaron Vanderbilt, all these new players. So, yeah, I think you're right. They're totally different teams. Maybe the Heat is kind of similar, And Eric Spoelstra, I mean, he really might be the best coach in the NBA, having gone to I don't know, seven or eight different conference finals in the last 10, 11 seasons. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Uh, how did you feel about the Celtics and the Sixer series?
It was a really interesting series. I mean, Jason Tatum completely saved his legacy in the last couple of minutes of that game six because he was playing awful. And if it were not for him, the Celtics would not be in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. But I think a lot of people are really kind of overlooking the Celtics and more focusing on the choke job by Harden and Embiid and even Doc Rivers. And I think not enough credit is being given to the Celtics for being able to win a game six at Philly and a game seven in Boston.
That was pretty big time winning that game six. I don't know though. I think it's pretty hard to like not put a lot of blame on the Sixers, especially when you start at the top with Doc Rivers. I mean, what he's blown seven different 3-2 leads now and I think 3-1 leads. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you bounce back from that.
I don't think the Sixers are gonna keep him. You know,
You think he's
he
gone?
has a reputation. I think he's gone. He has a reputation of just not being able to win game seven. I think he has the record for most game seven losses by any coach in NBA history. And I mean,
That
once
is
you
true.
have that under your belt, you can't really overcome that.
Yeah, I saw a video after the game seven loss, saw the players and coaches going in the locker room, and general manager Daryl Morey was just standing there greeting everybody, and Doc, he gave like a little pat on the back, and I was like, yeah, he's definitely gone.
Yeah, he's
But
out of there.
yeah, and about Harden, I know he won a couple games. I think game one and four, he single handedly, or not, maybe not single handedly, or he did in game one, but put the team on his back, led him to a victory. But I don't know. Game seven and game six, he just reverted back into old James Harden. All those Houston days and even those early days in OKC against the Heat in the finals, he just never has that postseason success. And once he reverted back to that, and Joel Embiid, I don't know, what did he have? 18 points yesterday. I knew it was over then.
I think he only had 15 points. He finished the game with 15 points.
Yeah. Yeah, that was terrible. So switching over to the Western Conference, Lakers obviously beat who did they just beat? The Golden State Warriors in 6 games after beating the Grizzlies in 6 games, who they now face the Denver Nuggets. Who do you have in that series?
That's a very tough question. I do like the Denver Nuggets a lot because I believe they're much deeper and a better team altogether. But it's hard to see. I love the matchup between AD and Jokic because I do not believe that Jokic can guard AD in any sense. But with AD, you just never know if he's going to dominate one game or just give out a poor performance the next game.
Yeah, I've seen tons of stats where he's like a roller coaster, He'll have
Yeah,
30 and 15 one night, maybe pop off for a 40 piece, and then he'll have a 12-point stinker, 2 nights later. And I also think this is pretty interesting because, like we kind of said earlier, it's a rematch of the bubble 2, 3 seasons ago when obviously AD torched Jokic. And
yeah,
obviously with Jokic winning back-to-back MVPs in 2020 and or 21 and 22, everyone's giving him a lot of heat for how are you going to win back-to-back MVPs and lose in the first, second, third rounds. If he wins the championship this year or even passes the Lakers, I think he kind of vindicates all that. What do you think?
I think he definitely vindicates all that. A lot of people didn't think he deserved to be a two-time MVP. And even more people are saying the only reason Joel Embiid won it is because they didn't want to give Jokic a three straight MVP season.
Which I agree
And
with, honestly, because
yeah,
yeah, I do think he was better than Embiid this year, or they were maybe at the same level of dominance, but Jokic was the 1 seed. But yeah, I was totally against giving him a third straight, because the
yeah,
last person to do that was Bird in what, 84, 5, 6.
yeah.
Um,
And once you give him that, it automatically catapults him up there with names like Bird and such. And he's nowhere near that.
yeah, and Bird won a couple championships in that run. Jokic
Yeah.
has only gone one, now two Western Conference Finals. Do you think if he loses against the Lakers, let's say in 6 games, is it still vindicated, or does he still have to go and end up going to the finals?
I think he has to at least make a finals. The fact that he hasn't even made a finals, it's tarnishes a lot of his it could tarnish a lot of his legacy. As long as you get to the finals and play out ball out, but you still lose, I think it doesn't tarnish his legacy that much. But the fact that he hasn't even made it to the finals, it kind of I don't know, I feel like it doesn't make his MVP seem that great, you
It's
know?
the exact same thing that kind of happened to Giannis, remember, in 2019 and 20, wins
Yeah.
the MVP, but is going out in rounds 2 and 3. Everyone's like, hey, you gotta back this up in the postseason. You gotta make those MVPs pop even more with the NBA finals. And of course, obviously, 2021 ended up winning it, vindicated those MVPs, and now is looked at as, a top player in the entire world. Yeah, if Jokic were to win a championship, I think he goes from being yeah, but in the playoffs to a disappointing player to maybe a top 30 player all time, 2 MVPs, a championship, and still like what, 28 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think that'd be great. Honestly, for me though, my biggest takeaway in these first 2 rounds of the playoffs is probably the Phoenix Suns. When they made that trade for Kevin Durant, and what was it? February, March, I think about February. Everyone, projected the Suns to at least go to the finals or be a heavy contender. But now this is 2 different seasons, or 2 seasons in a row, I should say, that the Suns not only lose in the second round, but lose in terrible fashion on their home floor. Not to mention that this year they gave up, four first
Yeah.
round picks, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, 2028 draft swap. I mean, that's just a total loss on that franchise. What did you make of the Phoenix Suns situation?
Honestly, I thought they were a very top heavy team. You give up players like Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, those are essential role players that help your team when your starters don't really have it. And I feel like a lot of people were relying on the Suns. They were just relying on KD and Book to go out and combine for 60 points every night. And while they did that to some extent, when you have no bench production and no depth, it really hurts you in the playoffs. And that's what they suffered from. And that last game, we saw what happens when your stars don't combine for 60 plus points. They get blown out. And I don't think you can win with as top heavy of a team as the Suns. I think you need depth, you need role players to help kind of carry the load when your superstars aren't really feeling it. So they can help add to the scoring, to the rebounding. I think they were just too top heavy this year.
Yeah, that depth's important. In fact, that's why I think, teams like the Celtics and the Lakers and the Nuggets are, really good. And it's no coincidence. These are the last teams remaining. They're so deep, 7, 8 players deep who, yeah, after Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they're probably the best two players. Like if you were to rank all the players from the Lakers, the Suns, and the Nuggets, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker would probably be two of the top 4 players taken. But after that, all 8 players on the Nuggets and the Lakers, I would take before anybody else in the Suns. I mean, DeAndre Ayton totally fell off. Chris Paul can't stay
Yeah.
healthy. You have Cameron Payne coming on the court, who's, he's just not that guy. Meanwhile, you have on these other teams, an Austin Reeves who's going crazy right now, and Bruce Brown on the Nuggets. So that depth's important. Real quick before we change subjects, who do you have coming out of the Eastern and Western Conference?
I have the Celtics coming out of the Eastern Conference, and I have the Nuggets coming out of the Western Conference.
So Celtics Nuggets finals.
Yeah, I have the Celtics winning in 6 over the Nuggets in the finals.
What do you have the Celtics winning against the Heat?
I think that is going to go 7. I think that's going to be their hardest series that they've ever
Really?
played. Yeah.
I really am trying to find a way that Miami wins more than one game. Why do you think that game's going to go so long with that
I
series?
just think Jimmy Butler, they've always played the Celtics tough. You look back at past seasons, they haven't been that good, but they've always managed to play the Celtics and the Bucks for that matter very tough. And I think Jimmy Butler, he's has a couple days to allow his high ankle sprain to heal. Bam Adebayo is playing great. You have role players like Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry stepping up. I just think they're going to give the Celtics a lot of problems. They can obviously shoot, they can defend, and they can rebound. Ultimately, I think the Celtics are better, but I do think the Heat will take them 7 games.
Okay, yeah, I got the Celtics in 5 on the Western Conference. How many games do you think the Nuggets beat the Lakers in?
I think they beat them in 6,
Okay,
honestly.
so they beat them in 6 at the Crypt.
Yeah, at the crib. I don't think AD can put together a string of back-to-back dominant performances. And I don't know if LeBron at this age and at this stage of his career can put together back-to-back superstar performances also.
Yeah, gut feeling. I do think Denver's better. I know home court advantage they have, in the Mile High City is gonna be play a big factor. But I don't know. I have this gut feeling that it's just the Lakers and LeBron's year. It'll happen in 6, like the first 2 rounds. I have Lakers winning in 6 over the Nuggets, go to the finals, play the Celtics. Moving on now, we kind of touched on it a bit ago. The Warriors lost in 6 games to the Lakers after winning in 7 games over the Kings in the first round. The Warriors, especially in our lifetime, has been the most dominant team. Won 4 titles in 8 seasons, and honestly, besides 2020 and 2021, when they were just injured, all over their team, they've been
Yeah.
in the finals every season since 2014. So first, do you think that Warriors dynasty is over? What do you make of that?
I I do think it is over. I think Clay is past his prime. Draymond is getting up there and his antics are growing out of control. And I think the young core they tried to build for the future, hasn't fully developed the way they were hoping it would. And I think right now, all you can rely on is Steph.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tough question because I would have said it was over, in 2021. Of course, last year they came and won the title, totally unexpected, but I don't know, man. It's just so hard to count them out, and you totally, got that right about their young core. Obviously, already trading away Wiseman and Jordan Poole. I don't know if you've been watching him, but he has totally regressed and become unplayable, in the last
He's
series.
Yeah, he's totally unplayable. This year, I mean, last year in the playoffs, he was at 17 points a game on 50% shooting. And I mean, this year he dropped all the way to 11 on 35% shooting. And he has not panned out the way they thought he would.
And I mean, he is a streaky shooter. When he starts making buckets, that's when the Warriors win these 30-point games. But when he's going cold and Clay, I mean, I think the last 3 games was like 9 points, 10 points, 8 points. Also averaged like 11 points in the series. I think he's a key factor, or the biggest key factor in trying to keep this dynasty going because he's obviously not the same player he was in that 2000, I don't know, 15 to 19 stretch before the injury. and he came up big last year, in spurts in the playoffs, but trying to get 23 points from him a night, that's going to be tough. And since Jordan Poole has shown that he can't grow into that role of being a 22 point a game night scorer, it's all on Steph. I mean, did you watch how many games Steph had to single handedly win these first two rounds?
I think a lot of their winning came from single hand Steph just willing them to victory.
Right.
There
Yeah.
are a lot. There's a lot of games where Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole didn't contribute anything, and they're just giving the ball to Steph, hoping he wins it for him.
So gut feeling right now, you don't think the Warriors have another championship left in them?
I don't think so. I honestly think that they're gonna blow it up. No, there's rumors that Klay wants a max extension. There's a lot of rumors that Draymond is gonna try to go to the Lakers to team up with LeBron, and I don't know how they. I feel like they're gonna trade Poole and try to do something with their young core. I think they're gonna blow it up and try to rebuild around Steph as quick as they can.
Gut feeling, I'd say they don't win another championship. However, I don't think they blow it up, especially after listening to the Draymond Green podcast last night. He sounded very optimistic about coming back and restructuring deals, and that him and Klay Thompson were all pissed off about losing. And when they win that much for that long at their level, they obviously you know this is a reality check. So I do think they're gonna come back hard next year. I think they're gonna take the regular season a lot more serious to try to get that higher seed because since they didn't this year, they were a 6 seed. Their matchups weren't pretty favorable for them. Leading from that, teams I feel like are going to start taking the regular season more serious. As the NBA has changed the minimum requirement to 65 games to qualify for all NBA awards, MVPs, etc. A small detail that is rumored to be a part of that is players must be on the court for 20 minutes in 65 plus games. Do you think that this is good for the league?
I think the 65 game requirement, I think it's good for the fan experience. And to some extent, I do think it's good for the league because while there are some players that are actually injured, there's a lot of players, Kawhi Leonard is the biggest example that takes a lot of load management. And ultimately, it's bad for the league. It's bad for cable. It's bad for the fans. And I think it will help a lot of players to like actually play instead of just taking rest days. And thus you actually have like a better product for TV and for fans.
Yeah, and I think players aren't really fond of this. They've been, there's been a lot of backlash thinking that this is stupid. Do you want the best players in the postseason? But I think you're kind of seeing a lot of like repercussions from that, as in, the Warriors. They lost in the second round. And I think it's really because, yeah, they didn't have time to gel all season long. Same with the Suns. Their seedings weren't really favorable. The Suns were the 4, the Warriors were a 6 seed. But their rosters are there. I think if these teams, their star players played 65 plus games, they would be in, the right seeding. I think that's why the Bucks and the Nuggets, were the number 1 season in their conference because Giannis and Joker play all their games. Maybe you can look at, that's why Giannis. I mean, he did get injured in the first round, but that was totally, an unexplainable injury, just crashing down.
Yeah.
So I do think that better teams will start winning again because, like I said, these last several years, just increasingly, the Suns were the 4 seed, the Clippers were the 5 seed, the Warriors were the 6 seed, LeBron's Lakers were the 7 seed. So all these teams who were better. I think they were better than the Kings. I think they were better than the Grizzlies. But those teams were younger and played all these regular season games. So I do think it'll make better content for the regular season. And also with all NBA awards, players such as LeBron and Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, they would have missed out on these awards. And I know that could have brought up the argument like, do you really want, lesser tier guys who aren't even all-stars to get these NBA awards? But honestly, I think the players are competitive enough and that they'll want to play. That they're not going to just say, okay, whatever. I guess I'm just not going to get an All NBA award. I think they're going to start playing these 65 games.
Yeah, and especially when all NBA entails contract extensions, I think it will encourage them to want to play in order to get max money, in order to get contract extra money on their contract extension. And I think it'll bring more competitiveness within the league. You know, a lot of people, such as the Warriors, and you see Draymond Green talking, they don't really take the regular season seriously. You know, some players like Jimmy Butler are notorious for being just average in the regular season, just
Totally
waiting
average.
for the postseason. And
Uh,
I think it'll bring, I think you're right. It'll bring a lot of competitiveness to the regular season. Games will mean more, players will play more, and it provides a better experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, totally agree. That was a great point about, contract extensions because that I didn't even touch on that. And obviously, when players like John Morant, for example, obviously with the off the court issues, it's totally the reason he wasn't eligible for that supermax contract. And I think it was like 38, 39 more million dollars that he would have been eligible for. So,
Yeah.
life changing, generation changing money that he missed out on. So yeah, players are definitely gonna start playing more. So last topic of the day, just a quick hitter. The NBA draft lottery is tomorrow. Our hometown San Antonio Spurs are uh tied with the Houston Rockets and Detroit Pistons for the best odds to get the number one pick. And everybody's obviously trying to get Victor Wembanyama, the 7'2" Frenchman. So gut feeling tomorrow, who do you think gets that number one pick?
My gut feeling, it has to be the Spurs. I'm hoping and praying that the Spurs get that number one pick. Wembanyama is a generational talent, and my gut feeling, I think it's the Spurs' destiny to get the number one pick.
I really want them to. Obviously, we cover the Spurs. We'd have a lot of interactions. It'd create a lot more buzz in the city. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just have a weird suspicion it's going to be the Rockets. So crushing. Um, Obviously, especially they're only 3 hours away, so we would feel that buzz, and it'd probably hurt even more because we can feel that city be electric with their young
Yeah,
stars and Victor. Meanwhile, we're gonna have to be stuck with another, I don't know, 25 win season or whatever. So
yeah,
do you think we at least San Antonio Spurs will get a top three pick?
I think so. I think we'll at least get a top three pick. And if for some reason we do not get the number one pick, I think Stu Henderson is
The guaranteed
honestly,
number two pick, right?
yeah, guaranteed number two.
Exactly.
Hopefully they get the number two pick, and then it's a really can't miss on either of those two. But if they get the third pick, I don't know.
Man, yeah, it would be such a gut punch, but honestly, a reality check for the Spurs because nobody's really had a better. You could argue the Spurs maybe, but the past two decades, the Spurs have been the Class A organization. It would totally be a reality check if they somehow got the number six or seventh pick, like the worst they could possibly do.
Yeah.
That would be terrible. But all right, yeah, I would definitely be tuned in for that tomorrow. Thanks, Logan, for joining me today on this podcast. Definitely, we're going to be back next week, talk more NBA talk, catch up after games. I don't know, two or three of the Eastern Western Conference Finals. Stay tuned. The rest of the summer, going to have great content coming out. See you guys next time.
Thank you for watching. Click the logo to subscribe or click the videos for more from the Paisano.